Unexpected translation of a billionaire sheik reveals incredible truths that touched 6 languages. The library doors swung open, and in strolled the sheik, his presence casting an uninvited shadow across the dusty wooden shelves. Perfectly tailored suits, glistening cufflinks, and an air of wealth that seemed to swirl like the scent of apple pie wafting through Maplewood's streets. Sarah, the town's devoted librarian, felt the collective gasp from behind the rows of faded romance novels. The townsfolk, masters of hard work and simple lives, were suddenly faced with the embodiment of everything they resented, the stark contrast of his billionaire lifestyle reflected in their tired faces. Just that morning, she had reassured her mother bright-eyed, despite the aches of aging, that everything would be okay. Little did she know, everything was about to change. Sarah watched as a handful of her neighbors exchanged whispers, their eyes narrowing with anger or envy. This wasn't just a visit. It was a showdown of economic inequality. The weight of their judgment bore down like the autumn leaves that piled up at the library's entrance. When Sarah was tasked with translating the sheik's speech for the community event, she felt a tremor of unease. Hours turned into days as she pored over the words, dissecting each sentence like sculpting clay into something that could be shared. Amidst the fluency of 6 languages, she uncovered sentiments that reflected hope, compassion, and the longing for connection, a stark contrast to the bitter whispers simmering just outside the library. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet, as excitement brewed for the town hall meeting, so did tension. Community leaders stormed into the library, their voices seething with accusations that pierced through Sarah's confidence. How could she stand with a billionaire? Her heart raced in the chaos, a visceral reminder of loyalty versus justice. The walls felt like they were closing in. The next day, as townsfolk filled the town hall, emotions erupted. Tears streamed down the faces of those who had struggled. The stories of resilience echoed in the rafters. It hit Sarah in the gut how their lives intertwined through sacrifice and hardship. But would they listen? Would they set aside their prejudices to embrace something more? Sarah's voice trembled as she spoke, pleading for understanding, for unity in a time of division. As the crowd simmered, silence hung heavy, a moment of unbreakable tension. Would they collapse in on themselves, deeper into resentment, or rise to the possibility of a new beginning? As the meeting adjourned, her heart shattered and rekindled with an urgent question lingering like a heightened tension in the air. Could love truly conquer the bitterness of prejudice? The weight of fate sat heavy on her shoulders, and in that moment, Sarah understood. This was more than just about a billionaire's words. This was about the very soul of Maplewood. What choice would she make, now that everything had changed? Sarah stood frozen in the empty library, the town hall meeting replaying in her mind like a haunting melody. Fragments of conversations echoed in her ears, the worry in her mother's voice, the skeptical murmurs of her neighbors. The weight of their expectations pressed down on her as she imagined their discontent, their rejection of the very man she sought to help, a man her heart told her deserved a chance. She glanced out the window, watching the leaves swirl in a gentle autumn breeze. It seemed a world away from the turmoil that stirred inside her. Doubts nagged at her. Had she really grasped the true essence of the sheik's message? Or had she merely skimmed the surface, painting over deeper truths with hopeful sentiments? The following day, she stood in front of her neighbor's cafe, the smell of freshly brewed coffee mixing with the crisp afternoon air. A small gathering was forming outside. The townspeople were coming together once more, their voices buzzing with anticipation. Sarah's heart raced. Maybe they really wanted to talk. Maybe there was a chance to bridge the chasm between them and the man who had sparked such divisive feelings. "Sarah," a familiar voice called. It was Mrs. Carson, a pillar in Maplewood, her hands always busy helping others despite her frail frame. "You're printing translations for that sheik's speech, right? We can't just ignore him. He might be the key to support for our town." Sarah felt a flicker of hope igniting within her, but it quickly dimmed. But what if they don't see it that way? What if they only see the money? The facade? We're not so different from him. You know, Mrs. Carson replied, a twinkle in her eye. We all want to feel understood and seen. Sometimes, it only takes one voice to spark change. That one voice. Suddenly, Sarah felt stirred. Perhaps, if she could show the townspeople how the Sheik's vision aligned with their struggles, they would be able to connect. With newfound determination, she raced back to the library, the sound of her footsteps echoing through the empty halls. Armed with her notes and a clearer understanding of the Sheik's intentions, she began drafting a new speech, one that encompassed the aspirations and hope of both parties. She poured her heart into the words. Each sentence became a bridge. She wanted to convince the community that the Sheik was there not to flaunt wealth, but to offer a lifeline. As Sarah prepared, the atmosphere in Maplewood shifted. News spread like wildfire about the Sheik's upcoming visit, sparking both fervor and skepticism. Townsfolk debated in the cafe, in front of grocery stores, and over fences. Some were willing to listen, others would not be swayed. As night fell, the library stood quiet except for Sarah's frantic typing. She leaned in closer, crafting every line as if it were a lifeline. Finally, she took a deep breath, concluding her notes. She felt a weight lift, but also a growing tension. This was the moment that could either heal or fracture her beloved community further. With fire in her heart, she read through the speech one last time. The words beckoned to her, full of hope and unity. Tomorrow, they would gather again. Tomorrow, she would stand before Maplewood with the voice of a sheik and reveal the humanity behind the headlines. What if, in that moment, she could change everything? Could she inspire a shift in perspective? Would they listen? As she closed the library door behind her, Sarah trembled with anticipation. And just as the sun dipped below the horizon, a mysterious figure appeared at the library entrance. Sarah stepped back, her breath hitching in her throat as she took in the figure framed in light at the library entrance. A deep, shadowy silhouette loomed larger than life, the outline of someone both imposing yet oddly familiar. As the figure moved closer, the sun dipped lower, casting golden rays that illuminated the face of none other than the sheik himself. Her heart raced. Why had he come? Was this a coincidence or a piece of a bigger puzzle? Sarah, he said, his voice smooth and rich, like the coffee warming her hands. His eyes sparkled with an intensity that felt both encouraging and unnerving. I heard about the speech. I wanted to talk to you before tomorrow. She couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and dread. You did? About the speech? Yes. He stepped inside, the cool air swirling with his presence. Your people deserve to hear my intentions clearly, but I need you to understand me first. Sarah nodded, urging her brain to catch up. I've been working on a translation that highlights what you said about unity, about helping communities. But there is so much fear and speculation. I'm not sure they'll listen. He took a step closer, his expression softening. They will listen if you speak from the heart. It's the stories behind numbers that matter. My passion for creating change isn't driven solely by resources. It's rooted in connection. His words sent a shiver through her. Could it be that simple? She had spent so long stressing over their reaction that she hadn't considered how he might appeal to their emotions directly. What are you? She started. In my homeland, we treasure stories that bring us together. He interrupted gently. The bond of humanity transcends borders. If you let them see the man behind the title, the layers of struggles we all share, they will listen. You can show them that I'm not here just for business. I'm here for them. For connection. The sincerity in his voice deeply resonated. Sarah knew that was what she needed to hear. She had been tangled in her thoughts about numbers, success, and skepticism, but forgotten the heart of it all, the shared struggles, the universal desire to be understood. What if I fail? She asked, lowering her gaze. He lifted her chin delicately with his finger, making her meet his eyes. You will not fail. You carry the voice of those who wish to break barriers. Trust in your own power to influence. The urgency of the moment crackled in the air between them. She felt a rush of warmth. It was like the sun breaking through clouds just as storm winds blew. Tonight, help me share a story. His words fired a new resolve in her heart. As they settled in for a long night of shared narratives, Sarah felt a sense of clarity washing over her. Each word spoken felt like another stepping stone towards hope. But just as the ideas began to flow between them, the tension in the town outside intensified. Friends were becoming foes, and sudden whispers of dissent lingered in the air like a storm brewing on the horizon. Would her town still stand strong when secrets surfaced? Would her own voice carry their shared story when it mattered most? As the hours crept by, another knock echoed through the library, interrupting their intense exchange. It was a sound that sent chills down her spine, a sound she didn't expect. Sarah's heart sank as she glanced at the sheik, who stood frozen for a moment. The warmth of their connection felt distant now, as the reality of interruption loomed heavy in the air. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, glancing nervously toward the library door. The echo of the knock rang out once more. It was insistent, almost demanding. "Yes," he replied, his voice dropping into a serious tone. "Stay here." With that, he strode toward the door, his presence commanding the space like a force of nature. Sarah could see the tension in his shoulders as he approached, a contrast to the open vulnerability they just shared. She pulled her sweater tighter around herself, trying to shake off the unease washing over her as he reached for the doorknob. She fought the urge to call out, to drag him back. What if it was someone looking for trouble? What if they didn't want to listen? The door swung open, revealing a figure that made Sarah's stomach drop. It was Miles, the town's mayor, flanked by two officers. His face was a mask of grim determination, and in that instant, she understood, this was not just a courtesy visit. "Sarah, we need to talk," he said, glancing at the sheik with apprehension. "And you?" He nodded toward the sheik. "We need to discuss your presence here." The sheik stood unfazed, his eyes dark pools of calm amidst the brewing storm. "I was just leaving." "No," Sarah interjected, stepping forward. "You don't have to go. Let us hear what he has to say." Her voice trembled with a mix of defiance and fear, but she felt a surge of resolve build inside her. Miles sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. "The community is on edge. Your motivations, they aren't sitting well with some people. They believe you're here to exploit our resources, not help." Yanking her eyes away from the sheik's intense gaze, Sarah focused on Miles. "But he's not. He's here to connect, to create understanding." "We were just creating understanding?" he snapped, his patience thinning. "We're creating more gossip and turmoil. This town doesn't need another wealthy outsider throwing money around. We need real solutions." The tension crackled like static, wrapping around them and squeezing. Sarah felt the air thicken, each breath a reminder of the distance separating her from the people she loved. Would they trust her? Would they trust him? "No one is here to exploit anyone," the sheik said firmly, stepping closer to Miles, unyielding in his stance. "If anything, I'm trying to help. This isn't about money. It's about collaboration, stories, and connections that bind us." "Easier said than done," Miles countered coldly. "They don't want to listen to stories. They want certainty. They want proof." "What is certainty?" the sheik began, his voice dropping so low Sarah could barely hear him. "Without the humanity behind it. Imagine a world where we are all tied by our desires for peace and understanding." The air was thick with uncertainty, and Sarah felt her heart racing. She had always been a bridge, but now stood at the precipice of conflict. She needed to combine the sheik's insights with the town's fears, but would anyone be willing to listen? Suddenly, another figure stepped forward from the shadows behind Miles. It was Nora, Sarah's childhood friend, who seemed to embody the discontent swirling in the town. Her eyes were mirroring the doubts echoed in the air, and without hesitation, she crossed her arms defiantly. "Sarah," she called, slicing through the tension. "They're saying you're taking his side, that you're blinded by his charm. Is that true? Are you really willing to risk everything we've worked for?" The room felt as if it had shrunk, the walls closing in on Sarah. Each face bore the weight of expectations, fears, and judgments. Could her voice be the one that united them, or would it fracture everything she held dear? Gripped by the urgency of the moment, Sarah took a deep breath, ready to speak her truth. But what she didn't expect was for the next knock to open not just the door, but a flood of secrets they had all buried deep. The door swung open again, but this time it wasn't only the chill autumn air that swept through. It was also the jagged gasp from Sarah's throat, as an unsettling wave of uncertainty washed over the room. While everyone turned to see who entered, a chill ran down her spine. It was a man in his 60s, wearing well-worn jeans and a faded flannel shirt. His tangled gray hair fell carelessly over his forehead, yet there was an undeniable spark in his blue eyes that demanded attention. "Sorry for crashing the party," he said, a hint of mischief in his voice. "But I think I have something to say." Miles seemed startled, as though he wasn't expecting this intrusion. "Who are you?" he demanded, his authority fading for a split second. "I'm Joe," the man replied, flashing a toothy grin. "Just a regular guy from down the way." His gaze swept across the gathered faces, finally landing on Sarah and the Sheik. "I heard whispers about the Sheik in town. People talk, you know, and I know something they don't." As curiosity rippled through the tense atmosphere, Sarah's heart raced. What could this man possibly know? The Sheik stepped closer, intrigued but cautious. "What is it?" His deep voice resonated with an intensity that brought a hush over the room. Joe straightened, gathering the rumpled dignity of the moment. "I spent a year in your homeland some years back, Saudi Arabia. I saw things, learned things about your family. There's more than what the surface appears. You know what I mean?" People shifted in place, uncertainty crossing their faces. Sarah could hardly breathe. Would this man validate the Sheik, or shatter their fragile rapport even further? "There's talk among the folks," Joe continued, "about how your family lost their way. Everyone thinks it's all about wealth, but it ain't. It's about trust and connection. Your ancestors built bridges with their values. We're not that different, you and I." "Connections," the Sheik echoed softly, though a storm of emotion swirled beneath his calm exterior. Nora's frown deepened as she stepped forward. "What does this have to do with our town?" Joe continued, undeterred by her skepticism. "It's everything. Maybe you all see him as an outsider, but he's a billionaire with something real to offer, a legacy of cooperation, if he chooses to embrace it." His gaze steered toward Sarah, piercing through her defenses. "And you, Sarah, you're the key here. You have the power to remind both him and this town of the strength and unity." Miles looked at Joe like he was challenging authority in the room. "And why should we listen to you?" "Because I know what it's like to be on the other side. I moved away, but this town is still part of me. I've witnessed how pride can blind people to opportunity." Joe's voice cracked slightly. "And if you don't act now, you risk losing something incredible." As the words settled like stones in a still pond, Sarah felt her heart quicken. The once firm line separating her loyalties began to blur. Was there a way to negotiate peace without risking everything she loved? The Sheik's gaze bore into her, urging her to step forward, to embrace the truth. "Sarah," he murmured softly, "what will you choose? Are you willing to risk it all for understanding?" The tension snapped like a taut string, leaving only a charged silence. What had this Joe uncovered about the Sheik's family? What could Sarah say to bridge the gap of mistrust? And more importantly, would she have the courage to step into the unknown, knowing the fate of her town hung in the balance? The answers danced just out of reach, as a new knock echoed ominously at the door, each heartbeat asking, what more lies behind it? The knock echoed again, sharper and louder this time, startling everyone in the room. It seemed to punctuate the tension, pulling every gaze toward the door. Sarah held her breath, each heartbeat reverberating like a drum, saturating the air with anticipation. Who could be coming in now, and what could that mean? Joe stepped back, his grin fading as he cast a questioning look at Miles. "Maybe it's time to find out," he said, his voice steady despite the unease. Miles nodded stiffly, gripping the doorknob as if it were a life raft in a turbulent sea. He hesitated, gripping the handle tightly before pushing the door open with a creak that echoed around the room. A gust of wind swept in, carrying with it the bittersweet scent of autumn leaves mixed with the earthy tones of impending rain. At the threshold stood a young woman, perhaps in her 20s, with long dark hair cascading down her shoulders. Her bright eyes darted around the room before landing on the Sheik, shock rippling across her features. "Samira," the Sheik breathed, his voice breaking. Sarah's mind raced, trying to piece together the fragments. Who was this woman? What was the connection to the Sheik? A part of her felt like she was stuck in a suspenseful movie, waiting for the next plot twist that would unveil the mysteries surrounding them. "Why are you here?" the Sheik asked, his voice barely above a whisper, filled with a mix of surprise and apprehension. "I've come to warn you," Samira said, stepping forward and glancing nervously at the people surrounding her. "I didn't know if I might be too late." "Warn me? About what?" He took a step closer, transfixed by her presence. The tension in the room seemed to thicken as Samira took a deep breath. It's about your family. There are people who don't want you here. They're trying to keep you from uncovering your true legacy. Sarah felt a heat rise in her chest, a mixture of anger and concern. What do you mean? Her voice cut through the suffocating silence. No one can see the whole picture without the truth, Samira replied, eyes darting quickly between the Sheik and Sarah. Your family, your heritage, there are forces at work that want to preserve an image, one that traps you in your own past. But you have a chance to change that. Sarah looked at the Sheik, wondering if he possessed the strength to confront what remained hidden. Memories of stories shared about family, wealth, and power came flooding back, stories that often masked deeper lies waiting to be unearthed. What do you know? The Sheik demanded, his composure wavering. I know that the answers are brought to you through unexpected channels, Samira said, now looking at the room full of judgmental eyes. But trust is the path, Sarah. And you together, you can rewrite this story. According to Samira's words, a surge of hope pierced through the anxiety that had enveloped Sarah. Could there be a new beginning? A way to bridge the gap between the Sheik's past and the town's future? As the group absorbed her words, a sense of urgency grew thicker in the air. Each member felt the weight of history pressing down upon them, creating a precarious balance between fear and possibility. Joe, quick to sense the changing tide, broke through the moment. Then let us find that truth together, he exclaimed, excitement lighting his eyes. Miles looked back and forth, still apprehensive but now intrigued. What does that mean? With the room on the cusp of revelation, suddenly an ominous growl of thunder reverberated outside, startling everyone once more. Was fate trying to intervene? Sarah felt the pull, the call for her to step forward. We have to act, she said, her resolve solidifying. Whoever is trying to hold your family back, we can't let that happen. But little did they know, the shadows lurking outside were watching closely and ready to respond. The air in the room was electric, charged with the weight of unspooling secrets. Samira's presence pulled everyone into a web of uncertainty. The Sheik stood there, jaw clenched, eyes flickering with both fear and determination. He was a man caught between the past and the possibility of a brighter future, and Sarah couldn't help but feel that she was part of something monumental. What do you know? He repeated, his voice stronger this time. Samira took another deep breath, visibly steadying herself. I know someone is trying to stop you from discovering the truth. They'll do anything to maintain control. You have to learn about your family's past before you can decide what to do with your future. Sarah leaned in, her curiosity igniting. What kind of threats are we talking about? Before Samira could respond, the door slammed shut behind her. The sound startled everyone, a sharp reminder of the storm brewing outside. Rain began to drum steadily against the windows, each drop echoing like a heartbeat of its own. Who did that? Joe asked, face paling. Miles rushed to the door, trying to force it open, but it wouldn't budge. It's locked somehow, he grunted. Panic flared in the room. We're trapped. Samira's eyes widened with a mix of fear and urgency. This isn't safe. They know I'm here now. We have to move, but we can't leave until we know what they want. Who's they? Sarah pressed, glancing from Miles to Joe, then back to Samira. The people who profit from your family's past staying buried, Samira replied, her voice growing stronger. They'll do anything to silence those who threaten their facade. The thunder clapped louder this time, vibrating through the walls. It was more than just a storm outside. It felt like the storm inside each of them was brewing to a head. Look, we have to stick together, Joe said, trying to rally the group. We can't let fear paralyze us. Samira's right. We need to confront this. Confront what? Miles shouted, frustration weaving through his tone. We don't even know who we're up against. Samira took a step forward, her expression fierce. But I know one thing. They underestimate you. They think you're weak, unprepared for the truth that's coming. If you want to reclaim what's yours, you can't show them fear. Tension tightened around them like a noose. Sarah could almost feel the glow of determination building amongst her group, defying the despair swirling outside their walls. Let us do this, Sarah said, her voice cutting through the noise. She felt ignited by Samira's passion. We owe it to ourselves, and to the Sheik's family. It's time to face whatever is trying to hold us back. As she spoke, the lights flickered ominously overhead, shadows dancing around them. Each flicker echoed the uncertainty that loomed. Thunder rumbled one last time before going silent, but dread hung thick in the air. It was as if the world outside awaited their next move, holding its breath. Without warning, a loud crash resounded outside, followed by hurried footsteps. It sounded too close, too threatening. What was that? Miles whispered, his eyes darting toward the window. Samira's expression hardened as she realized, they're here. Each heart pounded in synchrony as they sensed the impending confrontation. Would they fall into darkness, or would they rise to rekindle the flame of truth? Sarah looked at the others, her heart racing. We need a plan, and we need it fast. We can't let them take this moment away from us. As they formed a hasty plan, the air felt thick with possibilities and fears. The next move could decide everything. But little did they know, the very thing they were about to uncover would change not just their lives, but the fabric of their entire world. The room pulsed with the tension of a still moment before a storm. They huddled close, whispering decisions as the wind howled outside, a fierce companion to the urgency in their hearts. We need something, anything that can defend us. This isn't just some random threat. It's calculated, Joe said, his voice urgent. He scanned the room, eyes landing on items scattered around. Wait. Miles grabbed a sheet of paper from the table. What about this? In his hands was a worn translation of documents, full of cryptic notes about the Sheik's lineage. Old codexes and family branches intertwined like branches of a gnarled tree. Is it really relevant? Samira's eyebrows knitted together, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Shrugging, Miles spread it out on the table. If they think that sending us a warning will scare us off, then whatever is in here might be the key. We can't let fear dictate our next steps. Sarah stepped closer, her heart racing as she examined the faded letters. Familiar names and places jumped out at her, mixed with the foreign language that mirrored their own fears. Maybe it's a map or something related to the past that they're trying to keep hidden. We need to piece this together. The urgency surged through the air, and they huddled together as they concentrated on the translations. Look, Samira said, pointing at a name written more than the others. This is your family line, the key players in this story. But there's an anomaly, someone being left out. Someone they don't want us to know about. What does it say? Sarah asked, leaning in closer. We find this person, and we might find the truth. But we need to do it now, Samira replied, glancing nervously at the door. Each footstep outside was a reminder of their peril, the need for action surging through them like electricity. As they frantically noted down the names, Samira's voice trembled, her eyes wide. The city named here, it's close. They meet there. If we want to understand this, we have to head there immediately. But it'll be dangerous. No more hiding, Joe said firmly, his face flushed with determination. He glanced at the others, searching for the energy that stirred within their group. Let us get moving. It's time to reclaim what's ours. He dashed for the door again, and this time, everyone turned to follow. The weight of anticipation had shifted, igniting a fire inside them that burned brighter than their fears. But as they pushed the door open, another loud crack echoed just outside. A voice barked orders, crisp and commanding, echoing in the heavy air. Stop right there. They froze, instincts kicking in. Before them loomed shadows of men, their expressions menacing, their eyes locking onto the group with dark intentions. Panic clawed at Sarah's throat, but she stood resolute, the paper in her grasp a lifeline. Samira, she whispered, adrenaline coursing through her. What now? Now we fight, or we flee, Samira replied, her jaw set with fierce resolve. The sheer weight of their choices hung in the air like the thunder that boomed overhead. Outside was a world filled with uncertainty, and inside, their hearts raced with the reality that truth was steeped in danger. Ready? Joe mouthed, setting his expression. The storm was upon them, both within and outside. But as they prepared to confront whoever was waiting, Sarah's gut twisted with an uneasy thought. But what if the truth they sought led them to something more horrifying than they'd ever imagined? Joe took a hesitant step forward, the weighty air pressing down on him. With every second that ticked by, the menacing figures outside seemed to grow larger, their intentions clear and dangerous. The flickering light inside was no match for the darkness looming just beyond the door. On three, Joe whispered, glancing at the others. 1, 2, 3. They burst from the room and into the biting cold, the adrenaline surging through their veins as they scattered like leaves whisked away by the wind. The night was alive with chaos. The shadows, now clearer, were men dressed in black, faces hidden beneath hoods. They shouted in a language that jolted Sarah's nerves. She caught a glimpse of the leader's face, etched with authority and anger. It was a sight she wouldn't easily forget. "Don't let them regroup," the leader barked, and before Sarah realized it, Joe had moved in front of her, positioning himself defiantly against the men. "We're not afraid of you," Joe shouted, clenching his fists. He may have felt fear, but it was overshadowed by the need to protect his friends. "Stand down." The response was clipped, blaring like a siren through the storm's fury. The men closed in, and Sarah could feel her heart pounding in sync with the thunder overhead. It was now or never. "Miles," she yelled, grabbing his arm as they dodged past a pair of imposing figures. "We need to get to the car." But Miles hesitated, his eyes darting back. "What if we lose the paper? The information, it doesn't matter if we don't get out of here," she shouted, urgency driving her words. They spotted the vehicle parked under a sputtering street lamp, and her heart leaped in hope. They stumbled towards it, the shadows stalking their every step. A shout rang out, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps pounding against the pavement. "Move," Samira cried, kicking her legs as they raced forward. The sound of breathing filled her ears, each gasp urging her to keep going. They could not be caught. With one desperate lunge, Sarah reached the car door, wrenching it open as they piled in. The cold metal of the seat felt strangely comforting. Joe slammed the door just as a heavy thud resounded outside. "Go, go, go," Miles shouted, dropping the paper in the front seat. Sarah wasted no time, fumbling with the ignition while Joe looked back through the window at their pursuers, fear radiating from him. The engine roared to life, shuddering against the night's tension. Sarah's heart raced as she threw the car into gear, tires screeching against the wet ground. They tore away from the scene just as the lead shadow clawed for the door handle. "We made it," Joe breathed, voice trembling with relief as he slumped back in his seat. But constriction tightened around Sarah's chest, her hand trembling on the steering wheel. "Not yet," she said quietly, her gaze focused ahead. The storm raged, but there was a storm inside her, too. "We still have to figure out what's at stake." The road ahead twisted and turned, a winding pathway leading to uncertainty. Each beat of her heart echoed the weight of their discoveries, the truths hidden in the documents they just barely escaped with. What if the knowledge they sought was more dangerous than the threats they faced? As they drove deeper into the night, glimmers of light flickered in the distance. "We need to find a place to regroup," Samira commented, peering out the window at the idling vehicles and glowing storefronts. Sarah nodded, but a gnawing doubt gripped her. "What if they come for us again? Then we'll be ready," Joe asserted, clenching his fists. "We'll find that person mentioned in the papers. We'll uncover the truth." But even as he spoke, a new fear flickered across Sarah's mind. What if that truth was darker than they could ever imagine? The headlights cut through the rain, illuminating their path forward. But just as Sarah felt a flicker of hope, her phone buzzed in her pocket, vibrating with a sense of foreboding. She pulled it out, eyes widening at the name displayed on the screen. It was her mother's name, and on the other end could lie secrets she wasn't ready to confront. "Answer it," Samira urged, her voice wavering. With a knot tightening in her stomach, Sarah pressed the green button, her heart slamming against her ribs. What could her mother possibly reveal that would change everything again? The ringing ceased, and the voice on the other end spoke, casting an eerie silence through the car. "Sarah, you need to listen to me," and at that moment, she wondered if the darkness would finally be illuminated, or if they were stumbling headfirst into an even deeper abyss. The tension hung heavy in the air as Sarah held her breath, her heart racing as she braced herself for her mother's words. "Sarah, you need to listen to me," her mother's voice crackled through the phone, an urgent whisper against the storm raging around them. Each syllable seemed woven with dread. "Mom, what's wrong?" Sarah asked, her grip tightening on the steering wheel. "I found something about the Sheik," her mother continued, her voice trembling slightly. "Something you should know before it's too late. Are you safe?" Sarah probed, wild worry flooding her. "Sweetheart, I'm fine," her mother assured her, but something in her tone felt like a crack in the dam of truth. But you need to be careful. There are people watching, and they won't stop until they get what they want. Who? What do you mean? I'm in the car with Leave the Sheik, Sarah, her mother warned. This isn't about money or support anymore. It's about legacy, and they want to bury it forever. Don't let them pull you in. Just then, a blur of headlights appeared in the rearview mirror, cutting through the rain like a knife. Panic surged through Sarah as she glimpsed a vehicle tailing them, dark and menacing, gaining speed. "Mom, I have to go," Sarah exclaimed, cutting the call as her instincts kicked in. "Hold on." She slammed on the gas, the tires screeching as they accelerated down the slick road. The shadows dancing behind them urged her on, like a pack of wolves closing in on their prey. "Drive faster," Joe urged, a note of fear lacing his voice. The road twisted ahead, and she dodged potholes and puddles, veins firing with urgency. "I don't know how far they'll follow." Samira glanced back, her expression a mix of disbelief and determination. "We need to get off the main road. There might be a way in through the back streets." In the chaos, Sarah's mind flashed back to the Sheik's words, "Trust in your power to influence." Could they really step into that power, or was it too late? "Turn right here," Samira shouted. Sarah obeyed, slamming the steering wheel to the side as they skidded onto a foggy side street lined with old trees. The tires squealed in protest, but they were thrown into a narrow escape, veering towards the unknown. Soon, the scenery changed. Quaint houses turned into weathered warehouses, and the city lights pulsed behind them like a heartbeat growing fainter. But the darkness felt alive, an echoing reminder of the turmoil they were wrapped in. "Where are we?" Miles asked, his voice a threatening panic. "Just trying to find somewhere safe," Sarah replied, her breath coming in quick bursts. "There." She pointed to a dimly lit building ahead, its windows dark but promising shelter. As they rushed inside, Sarah's heart drummed in her ears. The air was stale, thick with the scent of dust and old dreams. "We need to regroup and figure this out," she insisted, her voice a wisp of hope threading through fear. "Do we really trust the Sheik?" Nora blurted, still caught up in the web of their suspicions. "What if it's all a facade?" "I don't know," Sarah admitted, catching her breath as she leaned against the wall. "But he's not the enemy, he's fighting for truth, just like us. If we can just uncover what is hidden." Just then, another crash echoed outside, and their hearts collectively stuttered. Adrenaline surged once again as shadows lurked outside, searching for them. "We need to get that paper out," Joe urged, frantically searching backpacks and pockets. "I have it," Miles shouted, pulling it from his jacket. But a low growl from above made them freeze. "Sarah, was that you?" She shook her head, wide-eyed. "It's too quiet." As silence enveloped them, reality seeped into every chilling corner. Just as they began to plot their next move, the lights flickered ominously all around them, and, on cue, the rickety door crashed open. Dread flooded the room like an invading tide, and 5 silhouettes entered, men cloaked in shadows, faces obscured. The leader stepped forward, fear lurking in his eyes. "Looking for something? Let them go," shouted an indignant voice, a voice that cut through her fear like a beacon. It was the Sheik. "Stay back," the leader shouted, arms raised as if commanding authority. "We know the truth," the Sheik stated calmly, confidence lacing his tone. "And we're here to reclaim what belongs to us." Sarah felt the power of his resolve usher forth waves of strength within her. This wasn't just about survival, it was about truth, legacy, and the unity they truly sought. "Tell them," she encouraged, her voice ringing with newfound confidence as the Sheik stood tall amid the fray. "Tell them what they're afraid of." A moment of silence hung between them before he began to speak of lost connections, of creating bridges based on validation and understanding. His words painted the air with emotion, forging a bond that reached beyond fear. "Together, you all hold the key to redefine the narrative," he declared, captivating their adversaries with the light of possibility. And as the tension shifted, Sarah felt a spark igniting deep within her. She saw the faces around her transform, tension curving into curiosity. This wasn't about wealth or an outsider, it was about shared stories, buried hopes, and untold futures. "We are more alike than different," she added, her voice steady and strong. "Legacy lives in unity, in understanding." The shift in energy was palpable, rippling through the room like an electric current. While uncertainty lingered, something profound began to crack through the fear, like a dawning reality claiming the sun. Will you listen? The sheik pressed, gazing directly into the eyes of the leader. Will you embrace the truth that we all seek? In that moment, as silence blanketed the chaos, Sarah stood beside him, heart steady, ready to face whatever else still lurked in the shadows. The journey towards understanding, truth, and unity was painful and messy, but it was worth it. They could break the chains of the past. They had the power to shed light where shadows threatened to prevail. As the storm descended outside, their determination grew fiercer. Together, they could unearth the light. As the door behind them creaked, the shadows that sought to divide began to fade, revealing glimmers of hope emerging from the dark. And now, as they eagerly prepared to confront what lay ahead, one question pulsed in the air. Would they let their collective story unfold, or would they retreat once more into fear? This was the moment of truth. Now, dear viewers, if you found this journey mesmerizing, it's crucial you subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the exclusive stories that lie ahead. Now is the time to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It truly makes a difference. Your thoughts matter. Comment below your reactions. We're eager to hear how this experience moved you. And if you know at least 5 friends who need this transformation, share instantly this video with them. Don't wait, not even one more second, to spread the message. Only true fans understand the importance of rallying around the journey of storytelling. Let us keep this flame burning bright.